¿Cómo está, amigos? How you doing, my friends? I've got two clocks up here, two clocks that say two different things. These clocks down here are the analog clocks, all right? Remember, an analog clock is the actual clock where you can see all the hours. You can see the whole time of day or the whole time of night. We've got the hours in big numbers, which our little hand points to. We've got the little marks on the outside for the minutes. Our big hand points to those. We have 5 dots between each one of these, which represents the minutes. We would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every time I get to a big number, it goes up 5 more. So it would be 5, count by 5s, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. But when we get to 60, that's the new hour, and we'll usually say o'clock. Okay? All right. On top of these two clocks, I have the digital time. The digital time is just going to tell you what the time is. It's not going to be this, it's going to be this. If you look at a digital clock, for example, right now, an analog clock on my wall says 10, 12, 17. All right. My analog clock, though, I had to kind of study it to find out what time it was. The digital clock just tells me 12:17. I can look up there, boom, just like that, 12:17. Look at these clocks. We got to actually figure out by looking at the analog clock what time it would be digitally. All right. So one of these times we would see in our head when we look at this clock. Or sometimes we'll just see clocks that are like this and we don't have to do that work. All right. I will tell you 2 things about these different clocks. One is in the morning, one is in the evening. All right. The way we differentiate that, the way that we show that it is different is AM is for morning and PM is for evening. All right. So if you see AM next to a time, that means that it is in the morning. If you see PM next to a time, that means that it is in the afternoon and into the evening. One of these times are what is on this clock, and what is on this clock is the time that Mr. Malek wakes up in the morning. So I'm going to say Mr. Malek wakes up in the morning. Nice little period, okay? Nice little sentence. Over on this side, this is what time Mr. Malek goes to bed. I love going to bed. Waking up in the morning, it's okay. I like getting my coffee in the morning, start doing a little bit of work. I like watching a couple TV shows, hanging out, doing work, drinking coffee, that's fun. Going to bed though, I love it. I love it. So one of these times, or the time that is on the analog clock, we've got to figure out what it is, but it is the time that I go to bed in the evening. So at night, what time do I go to bed? Mr. Malek goes to bed at what time? That is a question. We're asking a question. Mr. Malek goes to bed at what time? You could also say, what time does Mr. Malek go to bed? Either way, there's a special thing that we need to put at the end so that we know it's a question. What is that? That's right. It's a question mark. I heard you. I heard through the TV, through the computer, through the phone. I heard what you were saying, and yes, it is a question mark. We have a statement over here. We have a question over here. Mr. Malek goes to bed at what time? Mr. Malek wakes up in the morning. I wake up in the morning, but we're going to figure out what time I get up in the morning. All right? If I look at my clocks, first thing I want to do is figure out what hour it is. We're looking at hours and minutes. All right? I'm going to have my hour, dot, dot, and then I'm going to have my minutes. Same thing over here. All right? Going to have my hour, dot, dot, and my minutes. All right, we'll just make that one line. First one, we're looking at the big numbers. What is it pointing to? The little hand is the one that is pointing to the hours. It is pointing right to that number. If I was using the blue hand, it goes over the big numbers. It goes past it. All right, so that's not the hand that I would use. I use the red one, the small one. If you're looking at a clock, it's always the small hand. Look at the small hand. It's not always going to be red, but it will be small. Look at the small hand. The small hand is pointing to the 4. The hour is 4. Now let's look at the minutes. I've got the big hand pointing straight up to 60. 60. Well, we said when we get to 60, do we write 60? It is 460. Nope, we did not say that. We said that when we get to 60, what we always say is we say 4 o'clock, and we show that by using 2 zeros. I know that it shows 60 up there because there is 60 minutes in an hour. 60 minutes would have to happen before we get to the 5th hour. This would have to touch on 60 minutes before the hand would go to the next hour. But when we're telling the time, when we read it out, we say 4 o'clock. Do one of my times up here show 4 o'clock? They do. The first one right here. It says 4 o'clock a.m. This would be my answer. I would circle that. All right. I know that it's in the morning because it says a.m. I know that it's 4 because that's what it says on the analog clock. I know that the minute is o'clock, 00, because that is what the big hand is pointing to. Let's look at the other one over here. We're trying to find out, what time does Mr. Malek go to bed? Right now, I wish. I'll lay down right now and go to sleep. I promise you, I could do it. Let's look at this clock. Again, I want to figure out what the hour is first before I get to the minutes. I'm sorry there, Winn-Dixie. Let me just move you over a little bit there. All right. I'm going to look at the big hand. No. I'm not looking at the big hand for the hour. Look how it goes past the number. That big hand is for the numbers and the little dots on the very outside. It goes way out there to tell us what we have on the outside. Does the little hand go that far? No, it sure doesn't. It does not. So we go to each big number. This is interesting. Because my little hand isn't exactly pointing to the 7. But it's not pointing to the 8 either. And it definitely isn't pointing to the 6. My little hand is in between the 7 and the 8. You know this trick. I tell you, always. If the little hand has not gotten to the next number yet, then it's always the number before it. So right now, in between 7 and 8, it's still 7. It is still 7. 7 has to have its minute hand go to all the minutes until it gets to o'clock before it goes to the next hour. So when 7's minute hand goes all the way around and gets here, then it'll become 8 o'clock, and 8 will have to go all the way around before it'll be 9 o'clock. All right, but right now it's still 7. The hand is between the 7 and 8. That means it's 7. Let's take a look at our minute hand, which of course is our big hand. It's taken a little trip. It's gotten around the clock a little bit. It's been 7 for a little while. 7 o'clock started here. Then it was 7:01 and 7:02 and 7:03 and 7:04 and 7:05. 7:06, 7:07, 7:08, 7:09, 7:10, 7:11, 7:11. Somebody say a Slurpee. Slurpee. I love Slurpees. I want a Slurpee. 7:11, 7:12, 7:13, 7:14, 7:15, 7:16, 7:17, 7:18, 7:19, 7:20. So even though I'm not saying or we're not seeing the number for these dots. Each one of those dots is a number. And it starts right up here. The first dot is a 1. The second dot is a 2. The second dot is a 3, or third dot's a 3. The fourth dot is a 4. And then the fifth one, they didn't put a dot there. They just put the number 5. All right, but I'll put a dot there. That's the fifth dot. I can count each one of these dots all the way to where the blue hand is pointing, or the big hand is pointing. Or there's an easier way to do it. I can count by ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or I can use my brain. I'm going to say, listen, that's going to take a while. It's going to take some time for me to count that. Instead, I'm going to count by 5s. All right? I can do that because every one of these, it goes up 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we are counting by 10s. All right? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, and then o'clock again. Look at that blue hand. Let's see where we're at. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Ooh, whoa. That blue hand, it's actually pointing right to the 30. Right to the 30. So I'm going to write 7:30. It's 7:30. If this minute hand went one spot over, now it's pointing to that dot. I can count by ones to get to that dot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Stop! I'm not doing that. That takes way too long. I'm going to count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. It's not at 35 yet. Now I count by ones. 31. That's what it is. It's 31. If it was pointing up here, I would still do 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Now I count by ones. 31, 32, 33. It would be 7:33. Right now, though, we were looking at 7:30. That would be this one right here. 7:30 p.m. would be the time that Mr. Malek goes to bed. Here's the thing that's interesting, though. If somebody was to ask me this question, I would know the answer without even looking at this clock. I would already know. I wouldn't need to look at the clock. If you said, hey, what time did Mr. Malek go to bed? At night or in the evening. Did he go to bed at 5:55 a.m.? Well, a.m. is in the morning. So he didn't go to bed in the morning. That's silly. That tells us that this is in the morning. So we know that that can't be true. Did he go to bed at 1:55 a.m.? Did I go to bed at 1:55 in the morning? No, I did not. So I automatically know that I went to bed at this time. 7:30 p.m. That's the evening. At night, right? p.m. Those other ones had a.m. They were in the morning. I don't go to bed in the morning. I wake up in the morning. I wake up in the morning. I woke up at 4 a.m. Over here, I went to bed at 7:30 p.m. All right. With that said, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. I hope that you're getting plenty of sleep. I would say that if you're doing your work like you're supposed to be doing, then maybe you could talk to your parents or your guardians and be like, hey, if I do my work, maybe I can get an extra hour in the evening. So instead of going to bed at 7 o'clock, maybe I can go to bed at 8 o'clock. If I do my work and I'm good, I think that that's fair, right? That's it. Thank you.